Welcome to the Deadline Virtual Sundance Studio. I'm Anthony D'Alessandro, and we are here today with the director and writer of In the Earth, Ben Wheatley, and actors Joel Fry, who plays Martin, and Allora Torchia, who plays Elma. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
So this is what I love. This takes place during a pandemic. And of course, the pandemic is at the front of our minds, but the pandemic is just but a detail in this. It's like it begins, we go in, we see they're serious, everyone's getting tested, but there's more serious stuff going on in the forest. There's crazy people out there waging this witch war. Tell me about that. This dichotomy, this juxtaposition of pandemic, but people's interaction as a whole. That was my wonderful, what a fun film. That was my takeaway from it. Tell me about this.
I like the sound of witch war. Okay, yeah, Witch War 2 as well. That sound, there's something going on there. It's good. I think for me it was that when the pandemic started and I started watching movies, or stuff came up on VOD, and I started watching them, and I just felt like everything felt out of time, because this massive thing was happening, but nothing was referencing it. And when I started to write this, I thought I wanted it to have a context of now. And everything that doesn't have this context feels like it's from 100 years ago. Seems ancient as far as I can see. And I've been watching loads of movies since and just going, films with massive crowd scenes, and you watch them go, what's that all about? You can't do that. That's ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. And I think that was one of the things that spurred me on. I just wanted to make something that was in the context of the moment, rather than feeling like we were just inheriting bits of culture from 2 or 3 years ago. So that was the beginning of it, really.
And then what does it say about us as human beings? Because that was my concern. Like, I mean, there's a sense of survival. Both Joel and Alora's characters, their hearts and their minds are in the right place, but yet there are these other two. There's Zach and his ex-wife who have this. It's like they have the power to do something else. I just found it really interesting about kind of a commentary on human behavior, especially now in the pandemic.
Yeah, I think so, to a degree. I mean, I think for me, it's about the kind of processing of myth and information, and the way that humans basically feed on narrative, and try and make sense out of things when there is no sense necessarily. And it's like and part of the pandemic is that, and part of kind of modern life is that, increasingly, of just getting all this information and trying to organize it as much as we can into a story, and trying to make sense of things. And different people make sense of things in different ways, and they come at the information and process it in different ways. And that's what you tend to get in this movie, is like the different characters given the same sets of information and coming up with different kind of interpretations of it going forward. So yeah, I mean, that is that.
I mean, I think for me as well, I wonder whether or not there's to do with the pandemic and the idea of like nature just sort of taking over. I feel that there was a lot of sort of debate around us as people, and what we do when we're not in control of something. And I think that was something that in the current climate, where we're in a pandemic, where we don't really have much control of what's going on, that's a sort of natural thing. Somehow that's sort of like, I felt was reflected as well in the fact that we're outside the entire time, and there are all these things that we can't comprehend, as Ben was saying, and what we do with that. What do you do in a situation where you can't control what you don't know, which is a sort of concept that sort of struck me.
Yeah, and isolation, I think, like all the characters are kind of on their own, or have been on their own for a time, by choice or not by choice. And that's what, that's what's happening kind of now, isn't it, really?
We like coming out the end of this thing as different people. I feel it's like everyone's had has spent time and had a moment of introspection, or quite a long time of introspection, to work out what their position is on things. And I think that it was a unique moment when we'd had a month off, going from that point of everyone going hell bent through their lives, and then suddenly boom, you've got a month off, and then 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and then you just really start to think about, I mean, I almost think that the guy I was in 2020, the beginning of 2020, I don't even know who that guy is anymore.
Oh, don't say that. That is like
totally different. It is different.
Haunted expressions. Yeah.
He's dead now, Joel.
He's gone. It's true. It's true. Try not to swear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ben, when did you shoot this? How fast did you shoot this? Obviously, it was in an outdoor environment. So there was a lot of safety.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 15-day shoot, which amazing. I think, but in the context of cinema, it's not that short. I mean, it's what a genre film should be, about that length. If you look, one of the things that we looked at when we were making this was the production schedule of Halloween. And a lot of those kind of movies are made at that pace, and it's the right way to do it. And if you look at the Sam Fuller movies, they're even quicker. Like Shot Corridors, about 9 days, I think, or something like that. So and it was all outdoors, which was a big part of why I wrote it like that, so that we didn't have to put the crew and cast at risk by putting them into close proximity with each other. But also, I wanted to make something outdoors. I wanted to get out of my house, as much as anything. So that was a big part of it. Yeah.
Joel and Alora, before we go, can you tell me how Ben prepared you for this 15-day shoot? Was there rehearsal? Did you, because of, did you do athletic things? Because, you're getting very physical in the movie and what you're going through?
I think it helped. We filmed it in like chronological order, basically, almost like literally. And that was a really good move, I think, because, if you're filming something relatively quickly, to have it in the order was a real lifesaver. If it wasn't, it might have been it might have kind of gone a bit too crazy. But that was a great decision on his part to do that, because it made it much easier. Because by the end, when we're meant to be kind of knackered, we kind of were a bit knackered. So, and it just helps you know where you're at or what's going on, really. That was a good thing, I thought.
I think in terms of rehearsal process, I suppose there wasn't so much rehearsal process or read through, but I think again that was
right?
intentional choices, which I think worked really well, because once again, when me and Joel and I met for the first time, like, didn't know him at all, he didn't know me, but that kind of worked in our favor, I think, because we didn't know each other in the script. But there was a lot of sort of like back and forth, like of trying to sort of wrestle with what it is that we're making and not necessarily understand it. I think the speed at which we shot, it's definitely the first time in my experience where somehow you get caught up in the flow of it all. So you're just there doing it, but you don't really know what you're doing. And I think that was sort of quite ambiguous at times and scary and put you in vulnerable places. But again, it kind of helped because for me, just sort of putting all my trust into sort of Ben's vision and letting him deal with the rest. All I had to do was just do the things we were supposed to do. It was sort of, again, like quite relatively easy and quite liberating as an experience, because there wasn't too much to think about in that sense. But then it was really expansive, so there was loads to think about. It sort of both things.
Trust in the Wheatley, basically. Trust in the Wheatley was the major
that
thing.
Was the motto.
I mean, it's like when you work that fast, it ends up it blurs the line between filmmaking, like not general filmmaking, which is spending a lot of time in caravans looking at phones and stuff. And this kind of filmmaking is much more like performance art, or you're holding an atmosphere with people, and especially when you've got such a small cast, no one is off, and there's very fast setup, so it's just you're filming all day long. It's not like an hour to set the lights to do a thing and then everyone does their lines and then I'll go, okay, sit down and we'll do another hour looking the other way. It's much more immediate than that, and certainly when you're outdoors you can't light it anyway during the day, not really, not unless you've got like massive amounts of lights and money.
I mean, visually stunning. What a fun ride. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Wheatley, Allora Tor